Picture the scene. The sun sets on a field in Wiltshire. When it rises again the following morning, that field has been transformed into an enormous work of art. A large section of the crop has been formed into a pattern of circles, rings, and other intricate geometric shapes. But who created it? Most crop circles are probably hoaxes. For example, Doug Bower and David Chorley admit to creating approximately 250 circles over many years. People who investigate crop circles are known as seriologists or just croppies. Some people believe that the crop designs are messages from alien spacecraft. Some maintain that the aliens are trying to communicate with us using ancient Sumerian symbols or symbolic representations of alien DNA. Other theories are the circles are created by vortexes, ball lightning, plasma, and other less occult explanations have been put forward, involving natural forces such as wind, heat, or even animals. Some think that the designs are clearly the work of the US Air Force or the RAF using military microwave cannon piloted by computer and a design book. Well, I'm not sure about that last one, but you never know. Now, are crop circles the work of alien visitors? Are they a natural phenomenon created by electrically charged currents of air? Or are they elaborate hoaxes perpetrated by clever and very determined circle makers? Believers and skeptics each have their own theories, but the truth remains elusive. Now, after the next song, Vicki Schoolman and Pat Wood will be in the studio telling us of their amazing experiences involving crop circles. I'm going to basically leave the stage open to you, Pat.
Well, first of all, to bring in a bit of comedy, because I like the fact that humour can break up negativity, and I think that it's very undervalued, comedy and humour. First of all, I want to talk about sliders, and I'm giving it the Gloucestershire colloquial expression here. Sliders. This is a phenomenon whereby if you are electronically charged, as in fact we all are, some more than others, most of your listeners will have had an experience whereby they go to touch a light bulb and it explodes, or they turn on a light, it doesn't happen, or they touch the telephone and it's suddenly not working. Also, you pick up the vacuum cleaner, it doesn't work, or then it goes on in the middle. All of these things are, to me, demonstrating the fact that we are multivibrational, multidimensional electronic beings. And very often people will have the experience of walking under a street lamp and it will go off while they go under it. And then when they walk past, it goes on. I've had that all my life. I used to have it all that when I lived in Oxford. I used to get my fellow students to come and we'd just walk backwards and forwards underneath a street lamp, making it go off and on. But when I was in Luxor in Egypt, I think because my husband and a friend of mine, the three of us were very enhanced when we were in Egypt. We felt it was a really magical, special place to be. We went to Luxor, and as the light faded, as it does in countries like Egypt, the sun goes down quickly, not like here where it fades. The lights, suddenly it was broad daylight and then it was pitch black, and the street lights in Luxor for about half a mile went on. I was not thinking about sliders. I wasn't thinking about anything. Suddenly, my friend Paul said, "Look, the lights are going off as you walk under them." So for the whole length of this processional walk by the big statues in Luxor, as I walked under each street lamp, it went zzz and went off. And then when I went past it, it went back on again. And I would say that my experience in crop circles is similar. I took a friend of mine who is a complete skeptic. He will not let me even say the word crop circle. He gets so annoyed. And so I thought, okay, I'm not going to proselytize. I will say nothing. We all went, including this skeptical friend, into a crop circle 2 years ago. It had only been newly formed. We lay down in it, and as we lay down in it, it was an absolutely windless, cloudless day, and we could hear that noise you hear when you go near a pylon, that sort of static, sort of sparky sort of noise. And he said to me, "Oh, that's because all the corn heads are bashing together." And I said, "They're not, though, because there is no wind." And that experience, that he had alone has convinced him of a whole, now, multidimensional universe, because he could find no way of explaining that. And we just lay quietly with his children in this crop circle and heard that incredible electronic buzzy noise. He also said at the end of it all he felt sick, which is often a side effect of being in that highly charged atmosphere. Your body is not able to actually deal with that high frequency, and often people feel sick.
Yeah. It can give me migraine.
Yeah.
As I told you, I was in a crop circle 2 days ago down in Wiltshire at Milk Hill. I was there with my partner, who's an enormous skeptic, and I'm constantly trying to wake him up, so I drag him along to these things. It's quite funny. And we arrived at this crop circle. Actually, it wasn't Milk Hill, it was opposite Silbury Hill. And there were loads of Americans in this crop circle meditating. They'd come over especially on a crop circle tour. And I stood on the periphery of the crop circle with Richard, and sometimes, like Pat says, comedy is a really, really good thing to have.
Yeah.
Okay, now, even though Richard's sceptical, and I'm not a skeptic, we do find the comedic value in stuff. And suddenly a bunch of Americans meditating in the crop circle did make us actually feel very, very funny and need to walk away. But the next day I had a terrible migraine, and I'm thinking maybe there's something about the energy around crop circles that I'm really drawn to. I go down to Wiltshire sometimes on a weekly basis in the summer to see the latest circle. That maybe it's not doing me that good.
Don't assume it's benign.
No.
We are electrical beings,
Yeah.
but we are on a different frequency from
Yeah.
that which we experience.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I find that around the ancient stones as well.
I've had that in Avebury.
Yeah, I had it big time in Avebury. I went down to do an 11-11-11 meditation with my oldest friend. They were calling it firing up the grid at 11-11-11, and I really wanted to be down on Milk Hill and sitting quietly for those 11 minutes. But afterwards we went down to Avebury, and I got a very, very negative feel. A very, very negative feel off the circle. It was like saying, just stay away, stay away. So we do have to really respect this ancient technology, which I'm convinced that's what it is. Really, really ancient technology of vibration. And sometimes if you're drawn to it and sensitive to it, it doesn't always do you the benefit that you think it's going to do. You have to be very, very respectful. Very respectful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
And I would advise people as well to protect themselves, to just imagine a white cocoon of light around their bodies. That is often a way of protecting yourself from what I think are extremely powerful forces that we as humble human beings may not be able to absorb and deal with.
Well, it's been kept from us, you see. As I've said before, our true ancestry and our history, I think, has very much been suppressed. And so we're on this linear path of history where we think we started in the Stone Age, Darwinism, this fascist regime of evolution, the fittest wins. To me, that's all complete bunkum and nonsense, and it's the biggest frontier to cross at the moment, actually, is to realise that as conscious beings, consciousness developing the world and the universe, nothing to do with Darwinism. Nothing
to me,
to do with that.
This is very linked with female power. And I feel that we had, I love the Greeks, I love their civilization, I love their architecture, been to the Acropolis, love it, love it, love it. But it is all right angles, it is all very, very, very rational. If you look at the Greek civilization, you know that the women were kept indoors, and women and slaves did not vote, they weren't people. So, although I love, Socrates is my main man, but even though I've got a lot of time for the Greek civilization, it was a time when rationality reigned supreme. The women and the goddess energy was suppressed, and we had that for 5,000 years. We are the result of 5,000 years of that. And when it started to falter, we had the English Enlightenment with Newton, and Newton came along and exacerbated that rational idea. I think initially magic was science, and I think they were joined in a rainbow. And I think that the rational, very male, rational side of the brain had to cut that. And I think we are now coming back through alternative health, through vibrational healing. I think we are now coming back to where the female is being assimilated into our culture and our society. And I say, bring it on.
Well, we now know through so-called science anyway that the atom is virtually 99.9% empty space. So this kind of level of reality is illusory anyway. So I totally agree with you that we've gone from the Newtonian concept of the universe into one that is now nothingness, and we're realizing that nothingness holds great value, great value to be explored. Yeah,
absolutely.
But the crop circle agenda, again, a massive agenda. I've done research via various people, and even the people that say, oh, we went in there with boards and we did it all, they also say that they were inspired to do certain designs, which is interesting. And they also say that very often they had strange experiences whilst making the circles. So that's all very interesting. You know, it's poetry in the fields. If nothing else, they're amazing, beautiful works of art. And like poetry, as we know as English teachers, poetry is something you can go into and you can expand out into the universe.
Reaches on many levels too.
Many levels. Crop circles are like that. Brilliant works of art. And if they happen to be ultra-dimensional or extra-dimensional or done by UFOs, I'm open to any of it.
There's a rare tribe in Brazil that wear white, and they don't want to mix particularly with white people because they think we are not good. And what they say is that crop circles are the message from Gaia, which is our earth, which is mother, and it is not understood by us on a logical, intellectual level. But if you see the images even on the internet, that information is being beamed into one of your vibrational bodies, and it will interpret it as it needs to.
Yeah.
And that it's a cry for help from the earth.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard.
I agree with you. But also I have this other side of me that knows about Project Bluebeam, which knows about the alien invasion manifestation, okay? But the Project Bluebeam, which has been going on for a long time, is one that is about mind control, and it's about making out there's this fake invasion, because it's the ultimate fear factor, the ultimate control. If you think you're being invaded by aliens, then they've got you by the short and curlies. So, you know, if we do get invaded by aliens, I will be questioning now, are they real aliens, or is this a holographic imagery that I'm being shown? Because all of the fireworks at the Chinese Olympics were holographs. We have technology that way surpasses the technology we're told we have. The black ops technology. A lot of the money disappears into this technology.
Actually, going back to crop circle.
Yeah.
Is there... Now, I'm led to believe that they only really started in the 1970s.
1700s.
There are woodcuts that you can get off the internet. There's one from 15 something.
15? I thought it was 17.
And it's a woodcut taken from one found in Britain, and it was around Shakespeare's time. Also, there have been ones that have been found in Canada, near Baffin Island, where there are shapes in the snow, and because there's aerial photography continually being, they're always patrolling that area. There was no footsteps to or from this design that was in the snow.
I knew it was early, but I didn't know it was 1500. Yeah. You see, frequency makes geometry, Mike. Your listeners might know about sacred geometry, another enormous subject. But you see, it all comes together when you start going down this rabbit hole. All of these things come together. But frequency makes geometry. If you had a load of lead particles on a tray here, and you did a certain frequency, they'd go into a certain shape. And very often those shapes are very similar to the crop circle shapes. So I kind of feel it's sonic in a way. I think it might be sonically produced. But I can't prove that.
I personally have believed ever since a small child, don't ask me how I know because I do not know, but ever since I was a small child I have believed that Stonehenge and the pyramids were built by sound. And I think that ancient cultures used sound for healing, for building, and we have forgotten more than most ancient cultures know. I mean,
most definitely they were using sound, and it's just coming to the fruition again to be used.
And in the Bible, they talk about Jericho, the walls of Jericho, being destroyed by the sound of trumpets.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Would you say that Avebury Stone Circle follows the same format then?
Yeah, most definitely, I would say that. And as I've said before, all of the ancient megaliths link up around the globe. So there was a global civilization here at some point.
Yeah.
There are pyramids all over the world, not just in Egypt. They're being found regularly now. There was a global civilization. You know, just like we have elites on the planet now, And we have rich people, and then we have really poor people, and then we still have people in the rainforest who don't know anything about any of this nonsense. There was a civilization that we are not being told about that had this amazing technology. Our history is not linear, as we've been told. I'm convinced of that. I'm absolutely convinced. Some of the findings that are being found at the moment are remarkable. People like Klaus Donner, Michael Tellinger, who's been excavating something called Adam's Calendar in South Africa for many years. The stones ring like bells. So sound frequency was definitely used as part of whatever was going on in those circles. They ring like bells, which I find
Every
amazing.
time I've ever been to any stone circle, that is what I hear, because
Yeah.
I am clairsentient. I'm not clairvoyant, I'm clairsentient.
Yeah.
And I remember going to Avebury, as I said to you, and hearing this high-pitched sound.
Right.
And suddenly, you will notice also, if you go to Avebury, or if you go to any standing stone circle, or Stonehenge, or anywhere, birds flock to it. Birds are absolutely drawn to the frequencies and the energies in these places. And I can remember going, because I'm from Derbyshire originally, I went to Arbor Low, which is the Stonehenge of the north, and it's all the stones are laid flat. And I went there at 12 o'clock at night, very, very dark, very windy. I lay down on the stones and I heard a very, very, very persistent high-pitched sound. And this is what I've heard at every stone circle I've ever been in. And I believe the ancients knew this. I believe they used it for healing.
Yeah. But equally as healing, if an elite group have that power now, they could use it for the opposite.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Fascinating when, statistically, was it 70% of crop circles appear within a 30-mile radius of Avebury? Is that a
For
correct
me,
statistic?
well,
I remember
it's
reading it
spreading
somewhere.
globally now. There's
Yeah.
a lot in Italy now, which is interesting because my son's just moved there.
Italy never used to have any.
It's got loads now in northern Italy, so that's interesting. It's not just Wiltshire. Wiltshire just happens to be the main heart centre
But
for
Wiltshire
it.
is a very special crucible, in my view. And I feel that if you look through our history, you will see that the area of Wiltshire right through to Cornwall is blessed with a huge number of very, very, very significant stone circles. Some people posit that that's because it's one of the remnants of of Atlantis, and that Atlantis was the Atlantic with only just one syllable, one letter transposed, and it was between America and Europe. It sank, and the only remaining bit are the Azores, parts of Ireland and parts of southern England. And that's what some people posit as for why there is such a huge resonating energy and power around those areas.
Wow. Ladies, that was incredible. I learnt so much from that in the last 15 minutes. I have learnt so much. I thought I knew a lot about crop circles until I met you two. Thank you very
Didn't say
much.
anything about Didn't say anything, really. I mean, I'm sure you know about how the crop isn't damaged, and that you can tell if it's been done by a board because you see the marks of the board. Authentic ones, the crop's
just
just
bent.
bent over, and they're not damaged, and then they grow again. You know about that?
I've read about it, yeah. Yeah.
It's all fascinating stuff. It's
Yeah.
all
All of it.
fascinating.
It's all linked.
Yeah, and it's all linked, and it's all been suppressed, but it's all rising again. I mean, Pat's never had it out of her life. I've kind of been on the periphery, but the last few years it's getting much, much stronger.
And thank you both for a
Thank
fascinating
you.
afternoon. Thank you very much.
You are listening to Mike Watkins Investigates on Stroud FM 107.9.
My name's Chad Wornfoot, and I'm standing in the middle of a wheat field just outside Tipperary. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I've been given permission by the farmer to be here, because he's been given a tip-off that a crop circle is going to appear in this very field tonight. I'm all prepared to meet the aliens, and so I don't frighten them, I've been down a fancy dress shop and bought an alien costume. It's a bit uncomfortable, but I wants to make them feel at home when I meet them. Oh my God, I can see two lights approaching me. It's an alien spacecraft, just like you sees on the X-Files. My heart is beating really fast now. 3 aliens are walking around in front of me. 2 of them have feet that look like planks of wood, and the other one is carrying a really long rope. It's dark out here, but them are definitely humanoid in appearance. Time for first contact, I reckon. I think I should get over there and say hello on behalf of mankind. Right, here goes everybody.
Jesus Christ, it's a flippin' alien! I'm getting out of here. Damn, I can't run with these planks on my feet.
I comes in peace.
Quick, Reds, run. It's one of those grey things. I don't want to get probed.
Don't go, I'm friendly like. Start the flipping car, George, now. Well, folks, you heard it here first. The world's first encounter with aliens. And they weren't very friendly, were they? Anyway, that's all from me, Chad Wornfoot. So it's back to the studio for the boring stuff.
Farmers have reported finding strange circles in their field for centuries. The earliest mention of a crop circle dates back to the 1500s. A 17th century English woodcut shows a devilish creature making a crop circle, and people who lived in the area called the creature the mowing devil. In an 1880 issue of the journal Nature, amateur scientist John Rand Capron reported on a formation near Guildford, Surrey, in the south of England, and he described his finding as a field of standing wheat considerably knocked about, not as an entirety, but in patches, forming, as viewed from a distance, circular spots. He went on to say, I could not trace locally any circumstances accounting for the peculiar forms of the patches in the field. They were suggestive to me of some cyclonic wind action. Now, mention of crop circles was sporadic until the 20th century, when circles began appearing in the 1960s and 1970s in England and the United States. But the phenomenon didn't gain attention until 1980, when a farmer in Wiltshire discovered 3 circles, each about 60 feet across, in his oat crops. UFO researchers and media descended on the farm, and the world first began to learn about crop circles. By the 1990s, crop circles have been something of a tourist attraction. In 1990 alone, more than 500 circles emerged in Europe. Within the next few years, there were thousands, and visitors came from around the world to see them. Some farmers have even charged admission to their mysterious attractions. Whether you believe in crop circles or not, listen to this scientific report from a number of years ago and make up your own mind. In 1988, 2 crop circle enthusiasts, Andrews and Delgado, sent plant samples from crop circles together with their controls to Signalysis Laboratory in Stroud. The samples were processed by Kenneth and Rosemary Spellman in accordance with a procedure approved by the German government. The method allows for the crystalline structure of fluid to be examined under a microscope. Now, their results revealed how the irregular pattern in control samples had taken on a strict structure and pattern inside crop circles. An energy of some type had changed the plant's crystalline structure. A separate barrage of tests on samples from a crop circle in Argonne, Illinois, by molecular biologist Kevin Falter even showed that the plant DNA was considerably more degraded than the controls. After the Spellman's tantalizing report was published, Pat Delgado was contacted by another interested party, this time from Michigan, hoping to follow up on what the initial UK experiments had started. Dr. W.C. Levengood is a respected biophysicist. Over the course of his multidisciplinary career, he has conducted investigations into such areas as the effects of solar and cosmic rays on the reproduction of living organisms and the relationship between ion transport and vigor selection in seeds. Now, Levengood's curiosity led him to investigate the possibility of molecular changes in crop circle plants, and after thousands of hours of fieldwork and laboratory studies on hundreds of crop circles, as well as controlled man-made scientific experiments and tests on control samples, a series of statistically significant anomalies were detected. One of the first puzzles that Levengood came across concerned the seeds. Seed heads collected from the 1991 Barbary Castle crop formation appeared normal, until they were compared to control samples and found to be considerably stunted. Now, contrary to nature, they were also totally devoid of seeds. Yet control samples taken at various distances away from the formation contained seeds as normal. But true to crop circle fashion, this was not to be the rule. In other cases where the seeds were present, they were often severely stunted or malformed, lower in weight or reduced in size. Now, Levengood attributed this to a premature dehydration of the seeds. Their development arrested at the time the crop circle was created. The critical time for alterations appears to occur early on in the seed's development, the effect becoming less visible relative to the seed's maturity. Now, when mature, an increase in seed growth occurs. To see how the seeds reacted when germinated, closely monitored 14-day laboratory trials were conducted to compare the growth cycle with controls. Levengood noted that the crop circle seeds reacted variably, depending on the intensity of the crop circle energy as well as the age of the plants when affected. Now, the results show an inconsistency with natural plant development. In some of the immature plants, the seeds failed to germinate, and in young plants they did germinate, but with grossly depressed development in roots and shoots. Plants affected in the late life cycle by crop circle energy developed in a manner inconsistent with seeds of that species, revealing accelerated germination and increased vigor in the more mature plants. The latter exhibited a growth rate 40% faster than normal, with a healthier root structure as well. But what kind of energy was capable of altering the plant's natural cycle? Well, to find out, Levengood tested a sample of plants in a commercial microwave oven. The results revealed that the closest similarities to crop circle samples, even at the microscopic level, occurred when the plants were subjected to 30 seconds of microwave. Evidence of this rapid heating was corroborated by a superficial charring of the plant tissue which left deeper layers unaffected, thereby indicating the brevity of the action. In his first peer-reviewed paper on crop circles, Anatomical Anomalies in Crop Formation Plants, Dr. Levengood states that the affected plants have components which suggest the involvement of rapid air movement, ionization, electric fields and transient high temperatures combined with an oxidizing atmosphere. One naturally occurring and organized force incorporating each of these features is an ion plasma vortex, one very high energy example being a lightning charge. Another conundrum revolved around the plant's nodes. These fibrous protuberances are the hardest portions of the stem, allowing a plant to support its weight and maintain its upright posture. Levengood found the nodes in crop circle plants grossly enlarged and expanded, much more than could be accounted for by trauma, exposure to chemicals or infestation. And although both phototropism and gravitropism both play a role in the bending of nodes, these natural processes take time to develop and do not account for the massive node bending observed in new crop circles. Incidentally, slight node length extensions in the man-made formations prove statistically insignificant. Levengood concluded that the energy mechanism producing quantitative alterations in the plant's stem nodes falls within the framework of a straightforward and widely applied principle of physics called Beer's law, dealing with the absorption of electromagnetic energy by matter, and strongly suggested that an energy source originating in the microwave region had boiled the water inside the plant nodes, effectively transforming it into steam. Make what you will of that. Fascinating information, freely available on the internet. And what's particularly interesting, I think, is that it was a local laboratory in Stroud, Signalysis, that actually dealt with the original samples. Anyway, food for thought, makes you wonder. I'll leave it to you out there to make up your own minds.